Hola amigos, bien o no, y saludos desde Medellín. Hoy el tema es cómo nosotros podemos mejorar nuestra fluidez para leer en voz alta, especialmente para leer en forma muy consciente. Eso es para leer no solo en la nueva lengua, pero también en nuestra lengua materna, casi utilizar, como dice, un texto paralelo. So, un parte del texto en la nueva lengua, el otro, casi una traducción directamente en la nueva lengua, para poder mirar la diferencia. Especialmente estamos escuchando para la diferencia en el ritmo de la lengua, porque es un poco diferente una lengua para otra. Voy a mostrar. So, hello again from Medellin. Today's idea is to show you how by practicing reading aloud with what we would call a parallel text, so a text that has both the words in the new language, but also importantly a direct translation in your own language, you can practice the two together, preferably quite close together, so you start to get a sense of how the rhythm and pace of reading in one language is subtly different from the other one. This is the difference that takes you from sounding like a native speaker to sounding like someone that's learning the language. Because if we can get very close to the rhythm and the pace of speech that a native speaker would use, our accent is not such a problem. Because in all languages there are very great differences regionally of what we would say is like a native speaker accent. But a thing in common with all of us, depending on the language, is the rhythm of our speech, where we put the stress on what words, is practically always the same, regardless of what region we come from. So we may have a dialect that's a bit different. Our accent might be quite different to other native speakers of the language. But generally speaking, the rhythm of our speech is the same. That's the thing that differentiates really one language from another. So let me show you this in a more practical way. I'm going to read you two sentences. First one is in English. The second one is a translation of that sentence in Spanish. So one, see how my Spanish sounds, but also listen for the slight difference, if you like, in the kind of the rhythm of the speech from one to the other. And my speciality is to help people improve their pronunciation and fluency. Mi especialidad es ayuda a las personas a mejorar su pronunciación y fluidez. So my speciality is to help people improve their pronunciation and fluency. Mi especialidad es ayuda a las personas a mejorar su pronunciación y fluidez. That's a subtle difference. I hope you can hear the slightly different where I put the stress, because particularly in Spanish there's some accents that tell you exactly where you need to put the stress, like pronunciación. This is something we don't have in English, unfortunately. We have to kind of learn that in a slightly different way, but I think you get the idea. Let's show you this with a slightly longer paragraph. So again, listen for the difference between the two types. The core of the Socratic method is its emphasis on questioning. Rather than providing direct answers, the teacher poses thought-provoking questions that challenge students to think critically and independently. This process helps students develop the ability to analyze, evaluate, and synthesize information. For example, instead of simply explaining a concept, a teacher might ask, "What do you think this means?" Or, "Can you see a connection between these ideas?" This approach encourages students to explore different perspectives and arrive at their own conclusions. Okay, so that's the English version. Here's the Spanish. El núcleo del método socrático es su énfasis en el cuestionamiento. En lugar de proporcionar respuestas directas, el maestro plantea preguntas que desafían a los estudiantes a pensar de manera crítica e independiente. Este proceso ayuda a los estudiantes a desarrollar la capacidad de analizar, evaluar y sintetizar información. Por ejemplo, en lugar de simplemente explicar un concepto, un maestro podría preguntar, ¿qué crees que significa esto? O, ¿puedes ver una conexión entre estas ideas? Este enfoque anima a los estudiantes a explorar diferentes perspectivas y llega a sus propias conclusiones. Now, déjame saber en los comentarios qué mal es mi español. Yo espero es un poco mejor como algunos de los videos antes, pero especialmente espero que con este técnico usted puede mirar cómo puede ayudarte para escuchar cuál es la diferencia con el ritmo con una lengua y la otra. En verdad, ese es casi el secreto para hablar más consciente con el ritmo nativo, para decir. So, I hope you can see from these exercises, particularly when you read a bit of a longer paragraph, the one thing you can practice with is to get to listen to the differences in the rhythm between one language and another. Because that's really the thing we're aiming for. If we can be conscious of the fact that when we use our voice in the other language, we need to literally slightly change the rhythm of our speech as well as just say the words. So when we try to read Spanish or we try to read English, we need to read it in a Spanish voice or an English voice, which is not so much the accent, but it's very important, the rhythm of speech. And this is really what comes out of where we put stress on the words, or where perhaps, particularly in the case of Spanish, which is written phonetically, where the accent tells you you need to put stress on the words. Subtly different. Have a go. See how you find that. Déjame saber, como siempre, en los comentarios. Do forgive my slightly bad Spanish pronunciation, but I hope you see I'm trying to improve it. So, in your language journey for now, I wish you buena suerte. And from Medellin, it's cheerio.